Mark Zuckerberg says ending fact checks will curb censorship. Fact checkers say he's wrong. All right, guys, what are your thoughts? Keep watching because I'm going to let you know mine. Welcome to For the Record. This is the podcast where we will talk about life, politics, religion, and anything I have an opinion about in general. I'm your host, Alexandra Uvinas, and today I heard that Mark Zuckerberg has had a change in heart. Apparently, he's getting rid of censorship on Meta platforms. I have not watched the video, though. I'm seeing it for the first time, and you are watching me see it for the first time. So let's see what he has to say.
Hey, everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe
I would love to see that video just to kind of check that.
Believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very, very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly.
You do not take that seriously enough. At least child exploitation. I think you need to do a little bit better on that, Mark Zuckerberg, but let's see what else you have to say.
And I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech.
True.
So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes, similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower-severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action.
I would really love to see this, but I'd really love to see him practice what he preaches here. If this is true what he's saying, then I think it's great. And I don't think that necessarily erases what Instagram and what Meta has done beforehand. But I think this is a good change in their direction if it's actually implemented and it's implemented well.
The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but we'll also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down.
You barely filter out bad stuff. Maybe I think they should work a little more on that.
Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed. So we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice. I'm looking forward to this next chapter. Stay good out there, and more to come soon.
So I am personally very shocked at this change. I know that he kind of changed a little bit more towards right-leaning a little recently. I did not expect this. Now, what I will say is I am still a little skeptical. I think that one of the things that conservatives shouldn't do is just place their trust too quickly in somebody just because they did something they liked or they agree with one thing. Because I see that happening with Elon Musk, a self-proclaimed socialist, and I don't think we should give him that much trust yet. I think he has some good ideas, but I also think he has some really bad ones that are not conservative and they're not biblically based. So we shouldn't put our trust in people necessarily, but I think we should also say when somebody just does something right, hey, that's good, and that's a good change in direction. I think one of the things that this shows, though, is the power that the people have. I think the conservatives have gotten louder over these past 4 years. I think we've been shut down a little bit, just culturally by, people are afraid to speak. These children in schools, I mean, you see these people, boys are on the girls' teams and the girls are getting punished for speaking up. So we've been shut out a little bit, but I think by us refusing to stay silent, this is the result. So there's two different viewpoints here, and I would love to hear your opinions. If you can comment down below, let us know what you think. But there's like the people who just, love on him and just go kind of 100% Zuck, go Zuck. And then there's the other people who it's like, well, you did all this bad stuff, so you can never do anything good. And I think that both of those are two extremes. When we see somebody doing something good in the right direction, we need to encourage them in that. It's okay to be skeptical, though. That doesn't mean that we're not looking out for what could be bad that they could do. But I think when we're encouraging them in that, it gives them a reason to keep going. When all we're going to do is kind of hate on them, why would they make that switch? And we need to try and welcome people into the community and not shut them out because they are trying to make a good change, and we need to say, yes, we agree with that. That doesn't mean that we can't call out anything else, though, that they did, that they may do. We can still say, hey, this is factually bad, or this is factually good. That doesn't necessarily make my opinion of you. I'm just having an opinion on what you're doing in this specific isolated circumstance. You don't need to base your opinions off of their past or their potential future. So there's my thoughts on that. On another note, let me read you this headline that I thought was hilarious, and I just have to show you. Mark Zuckerberg says ending fact checks will curb censorship. Fact checkers say he's wrong. Well, would you look at that? Are we surprised? This is exactly the type of stuff that we're happy that he's working against, because anytime they disagree with whatever's being posted, boom, there's a fact check. And surprise, surprise, it is always in the negative view of what the right thinks. I'm also not, I would like to say this really quickly. I am not saying that everything that right-wing sources put out is true or even right. All I'm saying is that they shouldn't be censored or fact-checked, whichever terminology you would like to use, since you're not applying it equally. And even if you were applying it equally, it would be censorship. So those are my thoughts. Thank you for watching. This is For the Record. I'm your host, Alexandra. I'll see you next time.